Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Afters podcast, where we chit-chat away about music and industry and nightlife. And we have the wonderful, talented Andrew Haydock in our midst.
Hi.
Welcome in. Welcome in.
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Thank you for coming. And we're excited to chat with you today.
Yeah.
So people know and love you right now.
Right now.
Right this second.
Love it.
And they're going to fall in love with you going way back as well. So I want to kind of take you back through kind of like your history and love of music. Can you remember a time that really connected you with music? Like a certain song or a situation that you really fell in love?
Yeah, like I think my big falling in love with music was like my dad used to always, no matter like if it was barbecuing, if it was just like doing small chores around the house, he loved to do like big maintenance moments. There's always music playing in the background, always like Duran Duran to like everything. Like, so I just remember music always being a part of like everyday existence in a way. And that was like the one thing I think we got to connect on a lot was like going to concerts. Like it was that moment, you know, like, okay, cool. Like he was, I just think music was always a part of my life. So I think that's like the funny moment. I'm just like, look at me now. I'm just doing a concert a week.
At least. Now I'm running concerts.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, which is so cool. So moving into kind of the next, several years of your life and everything like that, music obviously played a big part through dance. Yeah. That sort of thing. How did you get into dance?
So it kind of turned into a place where my sister was always at the dance studio. And so then at that point, like I was there Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, and Friday nights.
Yeah.
And then the like dance teacher was like, why instead of you waiting in the lobby, do you want to just take class?
Yeah.
And I was like, older sister or
younger sister?
Younger sister.
And so I was like into it, but like back in those days, I was like in karate and taekwondo, and I just was like really into that. And then at one point, I just got put into musical theater class, and then I was down for it, and then it was just like one of those like did 1 year of that, got a scholarship, and then it was just like one of those things that just like trickled into just doing it professionally, which has been like a really crazy world for me, like getting to travel, just the accomplishment of getting to the point of being a paid dancer in this world is like
huge.
Is a big like accomplishment for me, but then like getting to travel from like Canada to Europe to like I was in Saskatoon, and I don't think I've ever said that like it's exciting to go to Saskatoon and know that like I'm not paying to go, they're paying me to come visit. You know?
Most of the time you're forced to go to Saskatoon. With this one you're like being invited.
Totally. And it was just, it's been, once again, music intertwined in all of my life and existence. And like I like trained from like since I was like grade 3 all the way till like after high school, and then I got a scholarship to go to Arts Umbrella on Granville Island, and I went there just simply because I didn't do ballet training back then, but I got hired by Disney to go onto a cruise ship, but they wanted me to do a year of ballet and pay for it and then put me into other roles.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'll do the hardest program I could do. And then I got into it, and I just saw a whole new love for dance.
Really?
Which was a completely different, not commercialized, like really contemporary arts, like, and so from there it just turned into like I'm really into this very niche small world, and being like not a ballet dancer in that program, you really go through it, like it's a feeder school to like some of the best companies in the world, like Ballet BC in Vancouver, the Netherlands Dance Theater, like really pristine work and like artists I got to work with, and I just fell madly in love. And that was just kind of in the era where I started like attending more warehouse raves too. So like the industrial 333 vibes. A lot of my friends like from Public Disco, Nick and Finn, they took me to like random warehouses way back when. Like there used to be, I don't know if anyone knows Dresso. So there's a whole other, on top of Dresso, there's an abandoned dance studio.
Oh, wow.
Like way back when.
Interesting.
And like, I think Max Hewlett was playing.
Do you access it from the alley?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't been there, but I've seen people go to parties there.
Oh,
I don't even know if it's used anymore. I think it's condemned. Like it's, so, but all I remember is like going to this like party. I left Mirage from Surrey. That's a statement of its own. Like that's how long I've been around.
We're dating. We're dating. We're dating him now.
Went from Mirage and drove all the way downtown, and then I go into this back alley. You go up these stairwells. You see this abandoned dance studio where it has like Victorian curtains,
Crazy.
and you have like this huge dance floor, big ceilings,
Yeah.
but it's so run down, and you just feel like that, like, I don't know, old London vibes in a way too.
Very grunge.
Yeah, very grunge.
underground.
You peed into a bathtub that had a pipe that took it all the way out of
Ouch.
the window into the alley.
Oh,
And
wow.
like, if you wanted to be a very bad person, you could technically wait for someone to walk underneath to start.
And then
Yeah.
oh wow, that crazy.
This
Yeah.
is
Oh.
London grunge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, and it was.
No
I remember
shit
being
against
like
London.
so cool to see all walks of life,
Yeah.
and just like people there for the music. There was no bottle service. There was no
Mhm.
like. It was just you were who you are. You got
Mhm.
there, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is cool. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, and then that turned into like showing people about like 333 Clark, Index, like all these cool warehouse
Mhm.
spaces, and then like at the same time training like 7 days a week,
Yeah.
and then taking dancers that are like so pristine and proper, showing them
Yeah.
this like
They're
cool
little ballerinas.
Yeah.
I
into
remember
the
I remember those
grungy-
days.
Oh my
Every
Yeah.
time I'd see you out, you'd have like this flock of girls around you, and they're all just like following you around like little puppies.
Dancers.
Yeah.
Little ballerinas.
And then and then it's been crazy to see like their love of music change too, and then start
Right.
to see the culture shift, and
Mm,
yeah, it's just been a very interesting ride, and like
Mhm.
yeah.
totally.
And on top of that, I was just working for Shine nightclub. That's where I
Mhm.
started like my like industry world of working in nightclubs, and I was just a busser, and then
Mhm.
Shine closed down. I hopped over to celebrities,
Mhm.
started as a busser there, and did bartending, and then social media consulting with like stories. Like back when
Mhm.
Snapchat was new, they hired me to do their Snapchat,
Yeah.
Mm.
and then now I'm the marketing promotions manager
Yeah.
of celebrities.
Easy as that. One,
So,
2, 3. No.
Yeah,
I love to see
13
us-
years later.
I love to see a story like that where people
Yeah.
because it's always you a lot of people nowadays you advance by moving companies. So it's like to see
Mhm.
somebody actually put in time and work their way up in a company, which is a big blueprint thing. Like they usually
Yeah.
like to hire people from within and keep them and
Totally.
promote them and stuff.
Mhm.
So it's like it's nice to just see that still in this day and age where people always have to hop around to get any
Yeah.
advancement
Be
in their career.
strategic and that sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely been a world. Like,
yeah.
you know, like I have, like pre-pandemic, I was bartending, and then when the world came back, I was like, do I go back to bartending? And by the time they did the rehires, there was a wait list, and I was like, oh, do I even want to do this?
Yeah.
And then like shortly after, like 2022, like I went for dinner with Alvi, and he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, honestly, I have no idea, because the arts was so underfunded at that time too.
Yeah.
Coming back from the pandemic, that
Nothing was.
anyone that was really hiring had already like had pre-contracts with other people. So
Right.
the new work isn't going to happen for another 2 to 3 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well,
The tail really
What
wagging
do
the
I
dog
do?
there
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
you know, and then after the pandemic too, it's like, well, where do I go if I don't do, like,
Mhm.
I've been training for
Mhm.
dance all my life. Like,
Mhm.
I haven't left it, but at the same time, I was like, in that moment of like, well, now it's time for me to like get a mortgage. Do I do this adulting thing? You know, like
Mhm.
I was so like not into having a home. I was ready to like travel
Yeah.
the world and go do these things. But at the
Mhm.
same time, there's a whole new generation of dancers that are hungry and wanting more dance. And it's just like, how
Yeah.
much waiting can I do and how much training can I keep doing before I'm too
Mhm.
old or haggard? But
Yeah.
That's
So-
true. It is because it is
That
such a physical,
is.
athletic thing. You do have a
Yeah.
window.
so,
There's
Yeah.
kind of a time limit on that. a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
but now learning where I am now, I just
Mhm.
realized it's figuring out how to fit it into my life now,
Yeah.
Mm.
you know?
In a different kind of way
Yeah,
than it was.
like I don't think
before.
I'll be touring the world unless Albie changes his mind, lets me have some time off
Yeah.
for a
Albie,
while.
work from home. Hello.
Love it. Internationally, please. But I also
Yeah.
know, like, like I get to dance at the amphitheater every year. Like
Yeah.
I have a residency there.
So cool.
I get to hire a bunch of dancers under Dance Anonymous,
Mhm.
and that's just a whole world of where I hire and invite people from every professional industry in the dance world in Vancouver.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And sometimes they show up and they don't even know each other.
Right.
You know, like we have the
Yeah.
film, you have like contemporary arts, then you have like hip hop and like street dance that's here. Like those worlds don't usually get to collide very often.
No.
And then like the fun part is like some of them have never done a music festival.
yeah.
Yeah.
So getting to see that like aha moment,
Especially Shambhala.
Yeah.
Hello, that's crazy.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and like amphitheater, you can get up to like over like thousands of people.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you have some dancers that have never performed in a theater atmosphere, and then you
Yeah.
look outside and
Mhm.
it's just like
a sea of
Thursday
people.
night amphitheater, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
where is, like,
Everybody
everyone is there.
is at the amphitheater.
There's somewhere between
Yeah.
5 and 10,000 people in front of me right now.
And I'm sure that's
Yeah.
the biggest audience a lot of them
Totally.
might have ever seen, especially if you're dancing in Vancouver.
Yeah.
We don't even have theaters that usually hold that capacity almost.
Yeah, like Queen Elizabeth is pretty big, but how many
Yeah.
opportunities? Like, unless you're in Ballet,
Yeah.
BC, you're not
You
getting that access.
Or like a musical theater or something
Totally.
like that
Exactly.
that goes through there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's just been a very, like, awesome moment to know that, like, I'm not leaving dance, but it's still very, very intertwined in my life still, you know? And, like, I used to teach a lot, and now this, with the new job, like, it is so demanding that I don't think I would have the capacity to actually understand how to teach kids and then have my own work.
For sure,
moments.
Yeah.
So
You kind of have to choose
a
one.
little bit of compromise.
yeah.
there.
And, like, I think
Yeah.
next year, now that I've been in this role for 3 years, I can actually see, like, my Mondays, I want to get back into the studio and teach more and, like, get that fitness. As much as I love dancing on the dance floor, there's a completely different moment of actually getting yourself into a studio and working out and
training.
get back into a health routine too, which has been, it's been a little bit of a struggle, but also like an awesome moment to acknowledge that, like, I used to dance 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Remember those days
Yeah.
where I danced lunch, noon, and
I know. I can't even imagine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but we actually danced at the same school for a hot second there.
We did?
Yeah, at Arts Umbrella and then also at Harbor Dance School.
Harbor Dance Center. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
That's sick. Cool.
So I was there at the same time. So I was actually seeing you dance, and then I recognized you years later going out
really?
clubbing, and I was like, oh my God, I know that guy. I mean, I
love
don't
that.
know you, but we've taken a couple classes together.
That's so cool.
It was so crazy to see you kind of like in both of those worlds, kind of parallel to what I was doing as well. So
That's
at the same
awesome.
time, we were
I love
all
that.
going out.
I love
was
that.
like, oh, I see like a camaraderie shift too.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is those two parallel worlds almost, where it's like you have that love of dance and music, especially and the musicality of things. It's really interesting. I feel like talk to a lot of artists who have previously been in musical theater as well. And I feel like there's a crossover between musical theater and DJing. So I wonder if there's a crossover between the dance world and like organization and being on top of things and like seeing the moments and creating almost like
Choreography or
like not charades almost, but like creating a storyline
Totally.
with something. Do you ever feel like when you're doing social media that it's like you're creating those kind of little storylines?
Yeah, like for example, like I do Base Coast Street Team. I'm an international rep.
Yeah.
And so like I just literally taught a workshop for the street team, which like, so Base Coast gets to have a bunch of hires from across Canada. And then if you're a street team member, you get to do these like cool workshops that like we get to like help you learn how to like be in the room, how to do social media presence, really give back and help people in the community learn how to be the best promoter and also represent Base Coast the best.
Yeah.
And so my little moment is like I always get to do a social media workshop. And it's funny because that's basically when Snapchat was created. I started doing stories, and then when I was doing that, that was where I got to show people my point of and my perspective of all these cool parties.
Yeah.
Because like when I grew up in Poco, people didn't go downtown. You know, it's like made no sense, and I was always downtown, so people would watch my stories all the time. And then like Carly would shout out Carly. She was in charge of Snapchat, and she was like, "I watch your stuff. Like, do you want to do it for us?" And I was like, "Okay, cool. Like, I'll do it for celebs." And then I was at Base Coast, and at that moment, one of the marketing managers of Base Coast saw me doing my stories, and then I helped her for a moment. Her name was Carissa, and after that, she was like, "You're going to be part of the street team. You're going to help with story takeovers." And then I started taking takeovers for like all the festivals, all like the major events happening in Vancouver, which was really cool. But yeah, the big thing I teach in the workshop is like, it's your perspective, and you have to have like a beginning and a middle and an end.
Yes.
Or else you
tell
like,
a story.
Yeah. Or else you're not really going to get anywhere. And like that goes with teaching a dance and choreographing. Like if you have an intention, it's people understand and it's easy to digest. But if you're just aimlessly like, oh, I'm partying, and it's just continuously party, it's not really like that exciting, and people don't return to it. But yeah, I totally think storyline and like having something to follow through on is like worth it. And that's what helps me personally do really good stories and seeing that moment where some people don't even get the access to see an event or the perspective of where I'm at. And that's like the fun part about the career too.
It's actually good. I was like, I just while you were saying that, I was thinking about like, because I record sometimes when I party, but I never post it. Like very rarely do I post it, but I don't record it with that intention. You know,
Yeah.
like here's the beginning, the middle, the end, the story. What's the thing I'm just doing it like as a memory. So like to flip that in my mind now, like now that you've talked about it, I'm going to flip that in my mind next time. So like if I feel like this is something that I want to record, instead of recording it just as a party, I'm going to think about it as a narrative, even just for myself, just as like a narrative for myself. Because I feel like that would even have more impact
Totally.
as something I look back on.
Yeah, like a little time capsule moment,
Yeah.
you know? Like,
Yeah.
who do you actually party with before you got to the event?
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
how many pre's I've done, and like, you know, there's even quick photo moments. Then you get to your videos, like, oh, frick, I forgot about that night. Like, I forgot that I, like.
For sure.
Yeah.
Who I was with and what we were doing and
Totally.
like all that stuff for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a way to captivate people, to kind of draw them in a little bit more too.
Yeah.
So I guess like with with your dance career and everything like that too, you said you had a couple contracts and stuff like that. Was that because of the pandemic? Then it didn't go through, or did you end up going touring?
So I did do touring with One Way Dance. I worked with Heather Dotto, like Amber Funk Barton, some really awesome company members, like directors in Vancouver. Like there's a lot of cool small companies that aren't just Ballet BC or Modus or like Outer Inner Space. And so during like pre-pandemic, I was in this little middle ground where I was like, do I go to Berlin? Do I go to the UK? So I didn't have any contracts, but there was some conversations, and there was a little bit more of a moment for me to be like, okay, what am I focusing on and where am I want to go?
Yeah.
So, and like in that era too, it was just when we wanted to have like all the projects that were happening were very much trying to like have equality inside of the working space. So like a lot of moments that happen in dance is like, we get a lot of all male company or contracts, and there's no women being seen or femme presenting human beings. So a lot of the choreographers and directors inside of like the project based companies in Vancouver had a lot of women only. So then there was this moment where I was like, well, love the work.
Yeah.
I understand that I am not that person. So there's like that little like leeway of like, where am I going? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And so it all kind of worked in this like I would love to be in dance still, and I will be in dance, but it was kind of that moment where like, hey, I'm going to let it breathe, take a pause, see where it goes, and then maybe change.
Yeah.
But after the pandemic, I realized that there's just a lot of things that I did. Like I would have loved to go to Berlin, but that weird in between of where we weren't allowed to go, and all, it just made sense just to stay and stick.
Yeah.
And I got an offer from Alvi, and like I do remember back in like way back when that I was like, by like in my little journal, like by 30s, I'll work for Blueprint head office, and I'll like start doing these events and do the stuff. So it's been on, if I would say like a dream board or a vision board,
For sure.
Yeah.
but it's been a goal, and it's been something that like I'm privileged to have, you know, like I'm really grateful to sit at the table for an event like this. I think there's a lot of moments where the narratives that come up with all the different collectives that happen in Vancouver, and there's other preconceived ideas. There's a lot of people that don't know what happens, and there's a lot of other things that are said, you know. But what I can do now in my role is like, hey, I want to work on these events. I want to work with these people. I want to change these things, you know. It's not like a dictatorship. Like we all really work on making the scene better, and the only way to do that is by doing it yourself, really, you know. Like you can always, we always laugh that like people can hate in comments, they can always hate in a distance, but when it comes to actually addressing like those moments, you're like, so what do you want us to do? They're like, I have no idea.
It's very easy to shit on things.
You know, it's like, oh my God, you know.
If it's so easy to solve the problem, why didn't you give us a solution then?
Or why don't you have a huge company that's bringing in black coffee and you know, throwing an event yourself?
Totally. And it's funny because like I think the funny thing about Blueprint is that we're not that big. Like when it comes down to it, it's like we have 3 to 4 buyers for music. Then we have like 4 marketers. And then we have just got 2 designers, 1 videographer, and a ticketing team.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's it. Like we're growing, we're getting to the thing, we're bouncing back. Albie's hearing us. We're like, we need these things. But inside of that, like we're a very small knit group of workers, and it also ends up being, I don't know, like it becomes a family. But it's also funny because I don't see a lot of companies where you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to Vegas with like 3 of my coworkers for our vacation. You know, it's like what?
I would love to spend more time with you.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen often.
We like had a funny moment, like one of our like good co-marketers, Declan, he was like, you're going on vacation. We're like, yeah, we're so stoked. Like, oh, where are you going? Mexico. Like, we're like, what? We're like, oh, we're gonna go to Vegas. And they're like, you're leaving the club to just go clubbing, and we're like,
go find another one.
Yeah, but then we're not working, right?
I'm enjoying the music,
right? And it was so much fun to go to Vegas, and like, there's a lot of things that we've carved and done on our own. Like when we went to Vegas, the buyers, like Iris and Maggie, they know the agents because they're working with them, but they haven't. We had enough pull out of our own like self work that we just got hooked up with everything. And like, shout out to my friend Reese, his dad gave us a really nice like suite that we didn't have to pay for, but there's like a few moments where we're like, yeah, we're going clubbing, but we're literally gonna go and get in, and we're not gonna do anything. We're
it's like an actual vacation.
Yeah.
Because you could party in Vancouver even if you're like technically not working. You still know everybody and all this stuff, and like, you know, you're gonna be talking shop and stuff like this. You go to Vegas and actually let go.
Totally.
Yeah.
And like, it was just a very funny, like, I came back recharged, and like we got free flights from Flair. So like all the things that added up that you're like,
amazing.
It was awesome. And so like, me and Iris, we have a funny story. Is like, we went to Chris Lake at Hakkasan, and we were just so into it, and we were having a lot of fun. Like, and halfway through, like, started hearing like a Pitbull track, and I was like, Chris Lake, Pitbull. I was like, I was like, Iris, like, and Iris is a buyer and a marketer. She's now the new marketing manager. And I was like, could you see if that's Pitbull? Because like, we didn't get a table. We were like far back, like dance floor, like just had our own little like spot. And we're like, and she's like, I'll be back. And I was like, something's telling me that this is not. And then all of a sudden she came back, she's like, we gotta go. And I was like, yeah, we gotta go. She's like, that's not Chris Lake. We're like, no. We're officially those people that are way too turned, and we didn't even notice that Chris Lake ended.
And now it's Pitbull.
And it's just some random.
You guys are
the resident DJ.
Pitbull,
Resident DJ is doing great. Like, I do not want to diminish that. But there's also moments that we're like, we have this beautiful suite that we could go back and after party in.
Sure.
I don't really need to be hearing Pitbull after a whole night of
Pitbull at the club.
Let's
go.
And we laugh because like when we go back and we look back through our videos. I'm like, oh, you're in this big moment where like the fireworks, pyro, like the dance, like everything's happening. Like, maybe that was when it ended.
That was the finale.
Maybe that was the finale.
And like
there were signs.
We were having such a good time that we were just in
Ignore them all.
We had like a janky tag along. And he was great, but he was like, oh, you guys didn't know? We're like, no, we clearly did it. And he was like, okay. So like back to the hotel. Let's get going.
We'll put our playlist on.
Yeah.
We got this.
You know, and like there's always those little like moments where like when I'm at Celeb and you're like, the DJ's almost ending, like and you're like, oh my God, everyone just go home. We're like, we're those people. Yeah, we're those people.
We found them. It's us.
It's us. Exactly. We're like, whatever.
We're the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. But also keep in mind too, you didn't get to that spot without a ton of hard work in the background.
Yes.
Totally. You know, that doesn't all happen overnight. It's not just because you work at Blueprint too. It's because you put in all the time and effort, and your whole team does as well. You know, it's no small, easy feat to try all these things and even have, like you say, like a little public backlash as well. And then do something different and try again harder the next time, or, you know, change things up, which is really cool. Without getting like into the company secrets or anything like that. Which
let's do it.
You've signed a contract.
Totally,
NDAs all around. But but
he's
like,
in Miami Music Week. He's not gonna know this.
Call us
Here
when
we
you're
go.
back. Fly me out. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But like, what are some of those like really interesting things that you've kind of like saw the problem, overcome, or like been able to kind of head things on in a different way? What are some of those challenges that you've overcome?
I think like the big thing for me that I can speak for myself is just understanding that like celebrities is in a queer space. You know, I am a queer person, and I get to be there, and I get to pull all the knowledge that I have and all the respect that I have of what was here before us. Like, I really try and bring back, like, there's so many queer DJs that play on all our regular nights that no one knows ever. And they're like, oh, that used to be a gay club. And like, for me, I'm, as a queer person, I think majority of the world is over having these boxes and over having a straight club, gay club. Like, financially, all the clubs, no matter what they are not doing well. right? Like
Yeah.
levels
Yeah.
closing down, like all these things are happening. And like,
Yeah.
I think having a space that's just dedicated to one version of a human, it doesn't help.
Doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
And I want to see my life with all colors, all races, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so when like we get backlash, like, oh, that used to be such a good club and it was just gay DJs. I'm like, there's tons of gay DJs playing
Yeah.
and talented. Let's make sure that that's being heard. It's like,
Absolutely.
I'm not putting someone, oh, like, what is your orientation? I don't give a frick what you do in the sheets at all.
Yeah.
But I also want to make sure that I'm making
Not
sure
excluding people.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
you know, and like, I want to have all genders of all forms, you know?
Meritocracy.
Yeah.
Meritocracy and you know, again, like the whole point of, I feel like the whole point of the last 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years is just so we don't talk about this anymore.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like gay club, straight club, gay or straight. And like, why are we even talking about this anymore? You know, like it shouldn't matter. And I think that's when we've won, is when it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I think there was need for us to dissect, divide, and figure out the moments of where we needed to fix the equality moments and equity, and like figure out how to make people be seen, heard, valued, and safe, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we're at that point, and there's things that we can still always work on.
Of course, moving targets for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, yeah, we're on Davy. Yeah, I am queer, but we're always going to have this like revolving door of openers and support and DJs and talent. And that's the biggest thing here, is that there's like, Vancouver has so much talent. And
we've said it a million times.
Wild.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We've done this pod for a year and still have so many people on the list.
You know, and even moments of just like, I don't even know half of it. And like, and that's the thing where I get to be grateful that I can open up the dialogue and questions and check in with like A-Wood or certain people that I really respect in the scene and be like, hey, I really want to book you for this role again, but do you think there's someone else that is just as good as you that would want to be in this? And they'd be like, here, like, here's a list of folks, you know? And I think that's the new role that I like to take, is that like, I'm not the dictator and I'm not the gatekeeper of celebrities or Village Studios, right? And I want to work on those moments and just have it be like, we're queer as fuck, but it's all year round. And like, I do get to program Pride and have input and activate those moments, but there's so many awesome folks that are at celebs that are queer too, you know? It's like, let's just move on and let it be what it is. And also maybe come, if you haven't been in years, come check it out for like a night, or see, like, we have disco fairies like coming up pretty soon. Carson Stoller has a residency for our Playhouse Saturdays. Like, you know, like homegrown Carson doing so many amazing things, and like Sober has like so many awesome like learning experiences that I get to sit down and be like, well, what are you doing when you go to Miami? What are you doing when you go to London? Like, you know, what are you seeing when you go to Brazil? Like, what sounds are happening? What's like the curve that you're picking up on? And
get it and kind of get ahead of bringing that here even.
Totally.
Because that's, I think that's the thing with Vancouver's is a little isolated. Sometimes we get things at the end of the cycle. It's good to be like, oh, let's hear what's going on and maybe get ahead of it.
Yeah. Because the funny thing is, like, when we're ahead of it, that's when the room is only 100 people or 50 people.
Totally.
And then it's not viable, you know? But it's not viable for the club to be open. And that's like the big thing, is like, I wanted to come in here being like community forward. Like, I'll just give the room for free. And it's like, oh wait, but your salary is actually getting paid by the club. So you need to give us money and you need to hustle. And that was when I figured out like the difference between like working for Public Disco, where it's like funded by grants in the city, and these moments like they don't have a target budget of the month or the year. And if I'm not looking at how to help the club's budget hit its target, then I'm not helping myself. And then if the
club
space,
loses a space and nobody's helping,
then
so
all goes down from there.
And and that's like the moment that like was like a learning point for me, was that like I have me, myself, and I as the promoting marketing manager, and I have Nathan Cars who helps with the promoter team, but we're still like needing to grow that. We're still needing to have nights that like we need tons and tons of more help, you know?
Yeah.
And the new generation is this whole new realm where we're not seeing them drink a lot, you know? We're not seeing them actually go out late a lot. And there used to be these new generations of like event promoters that would come and do all these shows. And now there's not really that new generation right now, you know?
I remember when I was up and coming, like everybody was a promoter. Everybody was doing tickets. Everybody, you know, you could call like 5 different people and they would all have hard copy tickets to everything.
That's a good point, yeah.
You know, and now,
I don't know a lot of people that do that now.
I know Lychee, who's on the Base Coast promotions team. Like totally honest, like I think that's where I'm at. But also like, I don't see a lot of new people being like, promotion seems like it's something I would like to do as well, you know? So it's interesting.
Yeah, and that's like in those moments of we have some awesome acts that come, but we also have to like worry, like, will this act hit the market too soon? And then it like once that show's done, like, will the artist want to come back? Does it make sense to them? Like, you know,
that.
So and like there's moments like you can have a John Summit moment where we got John Summit at MIA before the boom, and now you had to say, oh, I saw John Summit in this tiny venue. But you have moments where you're like, well, what happens if you do, like, can you take that risk in this new era? You know?
So like Miss Monique, for example, that was just here. Like, you know, I think if you asked a bunch of people, they wouldn't know who Miss Monique was.
But that room was
like
packed.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that was like people started to hear the hype as the show was getting promoted.
Blowing up on YouTube.
It was a really good timing as far as that. Like, because like I think if that show was done 6 months later, you know, you could think that Commodore was too small.
You know,
I
like
mean?
that's like we have with like the Sarah Landry show, like, and like the Sammy Verges. Like Sammy Verges was in Village, and we loved it. And like Sammy Verges was such an amazing artist, and he really cares about the venue, the space, the energy. And we just had a moment where like we had an artist upstairs that had left. And then we still had all these people. Like I deal with every email, every DM, asking to have a Sammy Vergie ticket. Like hundreds and hundreds. And that was like totally, you know. But then it's like, okay, well, I would love. We all wanted to be in Village for that special moment. But you can also have that special moment upstairs. You know, and then
you can fit 300 more people or whatever it is.
Exactly. Like we didn't even like the capacity difference is very small, but it's still it's that extra bit of room. A, bigger bar. B, more bathrooms. You know what I mean? Like logistically, we're like, okay, like either way would have been great, but I think we made the call, and like the buyer Maggie, like she really, really cares about the scene, and she's like a very pivotal woman in the scene, and does such cool things. And the second we moved upstairs, they were talking to me, being like, what are we gonna do that people are walking into this club and they don't know that it's the same old celebs, you know? And I've always had the fantasy of dropping the ceiling so that it's like a lot lower, turning off the lights as much as you possibly can, you know? And like we went to dinner with Sammy Vergie, and he was like instantly like, so what are you guys doing? Like what does the venue look like? Like and he cared, like he really cared, and we're like, trust us, like it's gonna be cool, you know? But then we showed him photos, it's like bright lights, like bottle service. He's like, oh, great. And we're like, we promise it won't look like that, but that's what we're going
for. That's a
for.
physical idea.
You know?
What we've got.
And like that was just one of those moments where like the generation we have in the head office really cares, and we want to make those moments happen because that was cool. That was special. That's
absolutely shows for sure.
You know?
Especially, I would say, especially now, like you could see the momentum that Blueprint has with, you know, I mean, even just exactly what you're talking about, you can say in one word what represents that is foundations. You know, like foundations is like, let's give back to the scene, and it's been rewarded. You know, like it's like, you know, we didn't get shows like that pre-pandemic.
I mean, I hope it's rewarded.
You know what I mean?
It seems like it's growing. You know?
And like that's the thing is like,
I think it is also a really huge risk too.
Oh, for sure. Foundations is a huge risk. I cut from the outside looking in. I was like, wow, we actually booked that.
And like we have like Alvy has really put in the effort, and like he did put in the time and like momentum for this this moment. And like we're announcing one for May Long Weekend, and like this is like one of the ones that like I have been so excited, and I've been waiting for us to announce. You know, and it's like the momentum's there, and I think not only is Alvy a house head, and,
Yeah,
like,
he's a music head.
Yeah.
I've talked about this so many times. He's like, he's
I think once
a music guy first. That's really, and it really shows for
and
sure.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And and it's great, and he loves, like, we have Black Coffee next week. That's one of his favorite artists. You know, the Black Coffee at Malcolm Bull was like the first like aha moment that we all got to see. And and like I just think we have a really cool moment, and I think we're gonna have May Long Weekend is gonna be a really cool. I'm excited for it. It's this one we put work in. Like, it's been we've had some like park board issues and city guidelines, but lo and behold, like you're gonna see like a cool new space, and it's gonna be exciting.
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I guess getting into the nitty gritty of like kind of like the team, and like you don't have to name names or call everybody out, but even in terms of like the whole team situation, you talk about buyers and agents and marketing and yourself and that sort of thing. Before, a year ago, I didn't know what a buyer was even, or like we've all heard of agents and managers, but like to put on an entire show, how many different moving components do you have? Because you've got the artist and then their team, their management, everything like that. So how does that all work in terms of like getting someone like Black Coffee?
Yeah, so tons. Like, so our buyer would reach out to the agent of the artist.
So what is a buyer?
A buyer is, for example, like Maggie Davidson or Matt Oshar. Matt owns Paradise, like really talented dude. So his responsibility is to be, and Maggie's, like their responsibility as a role is to be listening and going to festivals, going to shows, listening to music and seeing what's like picking up, looking at streams, like really doing the research and development of what art is needed in Vancouver. And once they get to hear something, or they go to like Crossed or Shambhala or Base Coast, anything, they find an artist that they like, they then reach out to an agent. The agent then comes off with an offer. Then the buyer and the agent do this whole like bidding war. They figure something out. So there's like months and months and months of dialogue. And then you have to check availability. Then you need to see if the venue can do it. If the venue's there, ticket pricing. Like, is this accessible for Vancouver? Like, there's not one moment I don't think we've ever had like every buyer's like, I've tried to make the show as cheap as possible, but they're like, but I can't. Like, it's like, there's moments where like it is what it is. You know, like I've said in my world, like I want to see Gorgon City celebs. And I've been like, I'm like, I want it. And then like literally someone, one of the buyers would be like, so you'd pay $200 to see Gorgon City? And I'm like,
celebs. It's like maybe I would, but I don't know if I could get 700 people to do that.
Or like $100, and then it's like, so those dialogues and like conversations have to happen, and then once that gets solidified, we get to assign a marketer. Then the marketer is in charge of all the ad buys, conversation of like media that's being released, updating a website, updating our Instagram, looking at ticket sales, and then we have to do it on sale. So we have a ticketing team. We have one ticketing person. Shout out Hannah. Love her. And so then from there, Hannah's then in charge of the on sale, and she makes sure everything is crisscrossed and everything's good. And the on sale happens, and you have the world of marketing, and then you have a show rep, like Bryn, for example, from Northern House. Bryn's a show rep. So once that's been solidified, Bryn then makes sure that an artist has their visa or passport when they're arriving. Like they're the liaison, because now the buyer's done their job. The buyer is now focusing on other shows. So now the show rep is then in charge of making sure that the artist gets there.
They take over.
The show rep's also maybe in charge of representing Blueprint or the buyer, because maybe the buyer's at a different show or traveling or doing another thing. And then you have that moment where then it's on sale. So like I'm in charge of the marketing and promotion of celebrities, but then I have to communicate to the ops side of celebs and let them know like this is a sold out show. We are gonna need extra security, or like this is the type of show, just a heads up, like so and then you have managers of clubs and bartenders and bussers. You have like it's a whole world that like I've gone and done every individual thing. I've not been a security member. I've not done security.
That's your next step. I mean, you've got the martial arts training, so
karate.
I've been punched in the face this New Year's.
Did you really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got in between a moment. I didn't escalate it. I thought I was diffusing. I used my harm reduction, and I just got clocked in the face.
Oh, jeez.
It was funny.
Not hot.
But like not hot, and also just like very like really? That I was like, I'd really try to let it not be the definition of the start of my 2024.
Yeah.
And it hasn't, luckily. Like, I've had the roller coasters. I think that everyone's
You're like,
going
this is
through.
as bad as it's going to get, and we're starting at the beginning.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Good. It's all up from here.
I had a moment where they're like, the police came and they're like, you want to go to the hospital? Like, we can put you in an ambulance. I'm like, I can see the hospital from here. And then my friend was a nurse, and she was like literally like sent me a text like, I've started my shift with 3 stabbings. So actually in my head I'm like, I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. Yeah. And I'm like, do I want to spend 2 to 3 hours waiting for someone to check me out?
New Year's.
On New Year's. Yeah. And then I went to Gorg for maybe 20 minutes, and I was like, this is a bit too loud for my needs right now. Yeah. I was like, my jaw was a little bit swollen, and then like I was flustered, and like, you know, you just can't get over like telling someone a story. I was like, I don't think I need to tell anyone any more of this. I'm like, I'm gonna call it like I'm not a vibe, so I'm gonna take myself out. Luckily, I just like went out to a friend's place and just chilled out, and I was like, didn't want to fall asleep just yet because of concussion reasons. You know,
you never know.
But it was definitely a fight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not do security, maybe.
No, I don't think I need to. Like,
I don't think that's an experience we all need to have.
I think so. Yeah, and we have a great security team. I do not need to get
Shout
a
out
part
the
of
security
it.
team.
Totally.
Yeah, they really hold it down.
They do. They do.
They really do. That's awesome. Oh wow, there's just so many like moving parts and pieces and everything like that.
Oh yeah, throwing events is just such a
oh my goodness,
huge ordeal.
Because all the person has to do is put on a cute little outfit and show up, pay your ticket and show up. But then you don't realize about how all these scenes go.
That's the big thing, is that like I laugh is that some people just don't understand like like, for example, like people's comments on like if we do in a lineup or a post, like there's a marketer behind that little wall that's like, but we tried so hard, you know, like, but I love this art, you know, so you get to have these like fine moments, like we really care, like we switched the Faded world up like this year, like we
oh
and
my
like
God, let's talk about that for a second. I'm excited.
Totally.
First of all,
like I've done every festival under the sun. I've done Holy Ship, Friendship, to Coachella, Burning Man, like I've done it all, and I love it.
Shambhala, all the little renegade around here
for years, and this is the first time I've had a lot of people that like have seen me across the world be like, "Holy shit!" Like Faded in the Park. Where did this come from? You know, and like that was the comeback that we wanted. You know, and it was hard for the company to say like, "We're gonna go off for a year." You know, we saw those moments, and like that's a hard thing, like to step up and be. Well, let's try this again, you know?
Yeah, because you lose a lot of momentum for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Because people who go to festivals regularly, they slot that a year in advance. That's what's happening this week.
They know that they're going to go.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
And like we came back, I think we came back with vengeance.
Big time vengeance.
For
I mean, as soon as I saw, literally as soon as I saw that lineup, I don't post on social media about every lineup that's good, and I've got a lot to say about every lineup.
I think he's posted 3 times in
the last 2 years. and I immediately, the first thing I posted was, this is already a better lineup than anything Shambhala has ever done.
Yeah.
And I was
no, Shambhala and Base Coast I haven't seen much of Base Coast, but Shambhala, I don't want to go.
It was a 25th anniversary. I thought they were going to really knock it out of the park.
Maybe they still have something up their sleeve, but like everyone at Faded, I'm like, I would go see them individually.
For sure.
And that's the tough part, is like, I have such deep roots in all of the festivals that when you have moments of like, I've had friends come up to me and they're like, I'm not going to this one because of this one. I'm like, I'll be at all of them. But like, don't tell me this, you know? But it has been really happy to see the feedback and have people excited, and it's doing well, and we're like, there's a lot of care, and there's a lot of people that want to have a festival that people want to fall to, and we're doing it.
Actually, I have a question. I don't know if you know the answer to this too, but obviously if we're talking about Faded, the traditional Faded lineup caters to a younger audience.
And also a different kind of genre too.
And different genres, but you know, it's still like, you know, it was a lot of genres. And I think the current Faded lineup does have a lot of different genres and genre variety. But it's definitely a more mature lineup. Would you say that, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, that the success of Foundations has a part to play in maybe how that's shifted?
Yeah, like I think the momentum of where things are at in Vancouver with sound and culture has just kind of fallen to a place that we see all these big acts that people want to see and have been asking to see. So it does end up being the acts that are a little bit more mature. And it also falls into a place that it's helpful that we have Badlands that's the same week in Calgary. So we have the ability to get this big act and do 2 different shows.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because it cuts travel, cuts
Yeah.
it's I think. And
But
you
I
can
also,
double dip.
yeah, I also like give mad respects to the buyers of Faded. Like they have their sounds and their niche moments that brought that. But yeah, I think having it be this, like, we wanted it to be an electronic music festival, and we did have to leave the rap behind and hip hop, and so yeah, I think it's a collective of a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, and I think they've done it. You know.
Yeah.
So
100%, absolutely, without a doubt, love it.
Yeah.
So.
I guess I also wanted to talk about a little bit too is just like growing the network and growing your people and growing the community as well. And you've spent a lot of time developing all these relationships over so many years and so long too. I guess for yourself, what are a couple of things that kind of really stand out to you that you really value in having community around you, value in having your network, and value in like connecting with different kind of people, and like what kind of advice could you also share to somebody looking to get into the Vancouver scene or like kind of similar positions as you too?
Yeah, I think like being someone that can be like showing up. Like I think that was like a big, like, having a lot of friends, cool, great, but being able to like actually bring and convince people to come to shows, but then also having that energy of like, there's a lot of moments that I didn't know people, but then I was available and was approachable, and I cared enough to like share a dance floor, but then not dance beside someone that was a stranger. I want to get to know them. And like putting yourself out there a lot of the times is like hard, but it was something that comes to me a little bit easier. So like when I look at the way that I've networked myself, it's been the right place, the right time, but also seeing what I brought to the table and if I was ready to actually use those moments. Yeah, like I think
that's really interesting that you say that too. It's like it is right place, right time, but you also knew what to do in those moments as well. Like you are a very smart person, you're very genius, and you're very approachable as well, right? So it's kind of like, do you feel like it's using all those kind of like, good head on your shoulders and also that connection to create those?
Yeah, I think it's
moments?
a lot. I think it's a lot of things. Like being able to like tell a friend like, hey, I'm coming to your show and I'm going to be there, like, and being that person that like then also like, hey, there's like Sam Steele is playing at this warehouse, do you want to come see, like, and inspiring those people, then having that moment, like for me where I'm sitting at, like having the ability to bring people, like even just any up and coming DJ, like it sucks to say, but if you like, you can be so talented and have all the technique and all the skills and all the rad EPs and all this stuff, but if you can't convince people to come to your show and be the opener or the direct and see that translate, then you're not really able to like show us the value. Your talent is great, don't get me wrong, but like when I have a moment that I can put someone like JMO or Sivs that have these like guest lists that happen, but also the talent also equates to knowing the room and how to make it happen, then you go there, and that's the thing that like Mikey Lyons, he made like a really good tweet, or X, Twitter in my world.
Twitter.
He fully wrote like a really good thing being like, love you, you can be the greatest human being, but promoters and people that put on shows are going to trust in the person that can bring 30 to 40 people, bring an actual vibe, I don't want you to just invite a bunch of randoms and then everyone shows up and no one knows anyone. You're like the first layer of actual like vibes.
I see. If you can bring like your group of friends, so it feels like a bit of at least a part of it's a house party almost, or whatever, like a group of your people.
It's almost like an extension of your art form too,
totally.
Well,
you're cutting that awkward silence, like as a DJ you get up there and you're like, okay, well, at least I have like 20 or 30 friends that are already here that like I can read them, and that's a big thing too, like having artists that can read the room. Like I love everyone, and I'm not talking about anyone individually, but there's sometimes I'm like, read the room, read the room, read the room, read the room, and like, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. I like Sam Steele is the best person to read a room when it comes to playing a thing, and I put them in like they became resident celebs just when the pandemic opened. And at one point, like I had to be like, hey Sam, like love you, but you need to play more top 40. And like, you know, they're like, instead of me like, excuse me, they're like, copy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll figure it out. And they like did it. And then they're like, that actual moment helped me figure something out. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so
and I'm sure they put their own spin on it too.
100%. Never lose yourself, no matter
Yeah.
what. Like, and that's, I think, too, is what brought me, bringing it back to your question, is like, I really try and stick to my moral compass. And like, I want to help friends no matter what. I don't think that if there's a moment I can step into a role, I'll do it. Like, if that means I need to be your cheerleader or your social media or be your dancer, you know, or give you like sound advice on a situation on like what booking you should take, or, you know, it's just being reliable and being the person, the best version of yourself, but also the version that people can trust and actually get there. And like, I know that there comes a lot of privilege in all the roles I have, and accountability. I'm also grateful to have a lot of really rad friends that hold me accountable to things too, especially in the scene, you know, like there's a lot of gray areas that happen. So yeah, I think showing up for yourself first, and then showing up for the community first too. And then you start to see the cool things trickle, you know. I did have that brief period of my life where I was getting to know bigger DJs, and then it became that moment where I could go to festivals for free, you know. And like I went to Shambhala, like I've done 10 plus years of Shambhala, and I've only paid for one.
Wow. Okay.
1 year, one of my like old close best friends paid for me to go because I couldn't afford. And then after that, I met some really rad DJs, and they didn't know anyone. Like, they're big international DJs. They don't know anyone that's going to Shambhala. They're like, here, take my pass.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I had an artist pass my third year of going.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I was there, and I was like, cool, whatever. But I had this weird moment where I felt like I wasn't really contributing. I was just there partying, but then I was like saying I was an artist. And then that following year, I got to meet Brie, Princess Granny from the amphitheater. And then they're like, do you want to dance? And I was like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
And then that same year turned into like me working for the Base Coast Street team, which then turned into like contributing all these new layers of a thing. Like, I find it really hard to go to a festival now. I just go to a festival. You know?
You're like, where am I? Where do I fit into this puzzle piece now?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Show me what to do.
Yeah, or something's going down, and I'm like, just help quickly. And they're like, how do you know how to do that? I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, but yes, I helped you, you know?
But
So,
I can't help myself. I have to jump in.
You know, and it's funny too, because like I'll be at Shambhala and I'll be like dancer role, but then I'll have to go into the artist lounge, and like Roger or someone's like, hey, can you just watch an artist for a little bit? Like, they just want to go out and have fun, but I don't have enough team members that have the capacity to go out. I'm like, sure, you know, all of a sudden now I'm like, not only am I dancing, I'm now artist liaison helping, you know, which is totally fine, but it's just funny to see all these roles like mishmash and be in that place. But to know that there's respect to people in the community that can be like, hey, I know you will bring this artist back, you know? Like, I have my I think it was like 2015 or 16, I was at Gorgon City, Kai from Gorgon City, and we literally were just gallivanting along like all of Shambhala, and at one point, and then we got like the radio, like, can someone please bring Gorgon City back? They have to get on a bus.
Who has them?
In an hour, and we just want to make sure that they're ready. And we're like, oh, okay. And then they're like, Andrew has them. And I'm like, they're coming back, you know. And we got them back, you know. And like it's very funny. It's cute. Like, John Summit last year was like coming out of the porta potties of the amphitheater, and he was like just kind of like lost, and was like, do you want like a breather? He's like, sure. You know, he's like, sure, this is cool. We had to sit down, just chatted with him, and he was like, I needed a little moment. I was like, you know, reading that too. It's like there's so many moments of like, DJs are humans. We're all
just people.
We're all freaking human.
Absolutely.
And just taking a breather and so
that moment, you know, being able to step in, accountable, showing up for people.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, everything's a people business. We got to remember that.
It really is. It's people, it's emotions. We're all following the love of music. We're all following that too, and all the things that come in and around with throwing a show, and with the magnitude amount of people.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many.
And I think that's a thing too that like is kind of an intertwining moment, is like, we're all so intertwined as like friends. Like, we've known each other as friends, and then we have moments like I'm reaching out to you to see if you want to DJ. Like, you know, there's like these things, and it's very interesting, and like it's a new role that I'm figuring out and navigating. Is that there's like business Andrew, like there's marketing promotions manager Andrew, and then there's like friend Andrew, you know, and you're like, hey, like let's just have fun, you know, or who's talking like to who and what role.
And what
like,
role,
yeah,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And like it's navigating those interesting points in life because like sometimes it's like get the job done, move on. Like I've learned that there's a new version of me that when I'm talking to people, there's like this like direct system of like, hey, I need this, this, and this. Get it done. You didn't get it done. I'll tell you what. Like not impressed. Blah blah blah. But like I'll move on. But like you know, you have your friends that like they're like, ouch. Like I don't know if that was. It's like oh,
hey, I'm just giving you a vodka soda. I'm sorry you wanted vodka cream. Like, oh
you know, and then it's like and you have to like, have that moment where like I'm learning to be like, hey, that was work. Like we are fine. Like unless you're not fine, then we can talk about it. And like
for
that's always a thing too. Is like if there's a moment that you feel uncomfortable or you feel like something's not sat right, like talk to the person, figure it out. But it's also been just funny to have like your friends be like, I just didn't know what version that was of you. And I was like, okay, like you know, like I'm a fun guy, but sometimes I'm like people love to go backstage at celebrities
every time.
Like every time. And it's just like I'd hate being the no. I hate being like if I had like there's bylaws. Like there are fire inspection rules.
Yeah.
There's things that like I just can't say yes to all the time. And then you have this whole system where like people are previously DJs and they want to go on stage and you're like, I played it. And they're like, yes, but like so-and-so doesn't want a allotted amount of people. And it just like turns to this point where you're like, sorry, you gotta go. You know, it's like this awkward moment where you're like, so sorry.
Gotta go.
And you know,
I mean, it is somebody has to do it. And if that's, you know, that's the job,
somebody
right?
has to be the bad guy, unfortunately.
And it's just sometimes has to be me. And I'm like, oh, don't take
the
it
nicest
personally.
guy is the bad guy.
The nicest guy.
I'm like, you're gonna hate what I'm gonna say. And like Bunt just on Friday, like this Twitch, like TikTok artist, like he really dope dude. He played celebs. And we had no idea, but he'd already like private messaged a bunch of people saying that they could come on stage. But in the advancing world, no one knew about this. And then halfway, like he starts 15 minutes in, he goes on like the microphone and goes like, everyone come on stage. And we're like, sorry, like this is a sold out show. And we just get swarmed. And it's just like people like, and we're like, what the heck? God. Like I like made a funny hee hee ha ha joke to the buyer of the show saying that Bunt had food poisoning and he panicked and he like ran to the club. He's like, what do we do? And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? And like and they're like, ah, and I was like, just kidding, Bunt's not sick. And like they dealt with an artist that couldn't get across the border in the morning. So I just thought like let's hit it home and just be like, this is so funny. And then he was like, not funny. He was like stressed out, not funny. And I'm like,
I'm not having a good time.
He was like, and I was like, well, he's here at least. And he was like, cool. And then all of a sudden we get on stage. And Bunt invites a bunch of people. And then I'm now in charge of like navigating. There's like a bunch of folks that have direct messages being like, I can come on stage.
Right.
And it's like, well, yeah, you and half of the club. Like, but it's like in the good old days, it'd be like, no, sorry. But we realize that the artist wants it and we want to navigate it. And like, if you want to do that thing, we'll do it.
Could you let us know ahead of time?
Yeah, please. Like that's all we would have loved to have. And so like on the spot, like I worked with Nathan, who was the show rep. I was like, what I'll do is I'll go around and like start giving people like a time, like, hey, you have 3 more songs on stage, and then I have to like rotate people on. You know?
That's a great idea.
And it was just this moment because like back in the good old days of celebs, there would have been some dude that's like, get off, you know? And it's like we all want everyone to have a good time. Like that's forever the purpose. Like we are throwing a party. We're not curing cancer. We're not fucking rocket scientists. You know, we want to be there for the fun and the culture. But then also like there's like both ends of the like both sides of the stage. There's like people begging to get on stage and they're shoving their phone in your face. You're like, I know, I believe you.
I believe you and 50 other people as well.
But I got to navigate. Like he had them in the DJ booth, and then like we have those new Nexus, like and like those things cost a lot of money.
And they're like, dancing out their drinks like this.
Oh my god.
And their phone, cell phone.
You know, and like leaning on it. Like there was a little like there was that like what Fred again moment where the guy elbowed. Yeah, we had that on Friday too.
No.
Love that. You know, and so and then it's like, well, in my head I'm like, what? This is all karma. This is just like this is what I get for making a joke that Bunt didn't make it. Oh no, Bunt made it, and it was busy.
He really made it.
Oh, he made it.
He showed up.
And I was like, the last thing that needed to happen was the fire alarm, and then all 3 triggers would have happened in one night. But
don't get punched in the face too.
Honestly, that would be a great excuse for me to go home. I'm like, I'm sorry, team.
I gotta go. Don't know what happened to me. My chin's swollen. Bunt's sick.
Bunt's in. But no, we had a good time and all in all. So, But yeah.
It's just the stuff that happens at the club. You know.
If those walls could talk.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Like,
yeah.
it's so funny.
Oh man, I remember days there. Yeah. No, just stories on stories.
You make it sound like you're not going. Like you're gonna be there pretty soon.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
All those days
all
years
those
ago.
Days, years ago, I'll be there next week.
totally.
Like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
No, just like I'm thinking of all those crazy stories that I've had in there. You know
Yeah.
what
Oh
I
my
mean?
God, yeah, like
Oh, we used to
I
club
bet-
it there every single weekend.
I'm so old. I've been there for very many times.
Yeah, yeah.
many.
just
You guys were
all
still
the-
in schools. I'm not gonna say which ones I was going there. So
yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. What's like one of
Yeah.
your favorite memories of celebs?
Oh my
Oh.
God, one of the biggest, craziest memories I've had of celebs was when it's before the Reno.
Mm.
Okay.
They had Nero there, and that place must have
Sick.
had, I want to say, 1,100 people in it. It was
Whoa.
packed, so busy that even the upstairs was slammed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like dancing on one of the there's like a
In the back area.
there's like a dancing
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the place for the dancers to go up on thing, and I was
Oh,
on
the
there.
platform.
Yeah,
Yeah.
platform, on there with my shirt off.
I knew the shirt was gonna be on.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Like,
I knew it.
100
Oh,
degrees
no
in there.
shirt.
It was 100 degrees. Everybody's like sandwiched together, just like
Oh
their
my
hair is
God,
like
I just
this.
remembered sweating.
Oh my God, and
you'd
just-
go
I
in
just
there
like,
and start
"Yeah."
swimming.
Yeah,
It
and it was just
crazy.
the insanity.
Okay,
I mean,
well-
there was more. Like that was one of the craziest club nights I've
Yeah.
ever been to.
Yeah.
That I
Yeah,
swear there
same.
had to have been at least 1,000 people.
Yeah, that was
Wow,
like the
yeah.
blow up of like electronic music. That
Oh yeah, but that was right in the 2011
Yeah.
heyday. Yeah,
Totally.
Oh, yeah. That was insane. Like
Mhm.
I knew people that were at that club that didn't listen to electronic music at all.
yeah.
To see Nero.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even know who it was. They didn't even
Yeah.
know what the music genre was.
Yeah.
But that's how hype it was.
Yeah.
And it was insane. Like people were on top of each other. Like it was sweat and just nonsense. And
Everywhere.
everybody was messed up on whatever colorful candy that you could find. Just
Whatever's on the floor, just put
Yeah.
it in your
yeah,
mouth.
it was insane. Insane.
wild.
I miss the old celebrities. There's so much about the old celebrities I used to like.
Mm.
Yeah, but it was also I don't see how it would have still been able to operate in today's.
In terms of
landscape.
what's old celebrities? What do you mean?
Well, old celebrities, there's no bottle service area, first of all.
Mhm.
It was all
Yeah.
just the big
Yeah.
club, and then like there's the pylons in the middle of the dance floor, which
Yeah.
were
Mm.
weird, but they existed.
Yeah, like you couldn't
Yeah.
sit in the
Not
center and
Yeah.
look at the DJ.
Yeah,
There's
you
two
couldn't.
pillars that were there.
Yeah,
Literally
exactly,
the
yeah.
week that I went to celebrities, it was like 2 weeks prior was the Reno.
Yeah.
Something like
Crazy.
that. So I never saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there used
Just
to
heard
be
about all these
where the
stories.
bottle service is now, like the L.
Yeah,
That
was-
used to be a smoke area.
Yeah, it was I called it
Oh.
chill room because you couldn't smoke in it
Yeah,
anymore. But
so-
it was like
Yeah,
a little.
yeah.
When you're
like-
feeling a little overwhelmed or
Yeah.
needed
Yeah.
to go do some sneaky things,
Yeah.
you could go into the.
yeah, and it's just that it was all
Oh,
seating, like so it was like in an L shape, and then you
Yeah.
had like seats all the way around.
Yeah.
And you could you go there to go make out with a girl or take
Yeah.
a
Whatever
chill
you-
pill or whatever, you know what I mean?
Little-
Yeah.
little
So it was glassed off. It was like you
Yeah.
could actually relax your ears for a bit. It was
Yeah.
whatever. And the DJ booth was on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were if you wanted to high
Oh.
five the DJ, there's a little window, and
Yeah.
I remember literally being there with Skrillex and being like high five
Whoa.
in the middle
That's
in
wild.
celebrities,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a different ball game back then. But
Definitely.
it's definitely I mean, as much as I miss it, I know it would not. If they didn't
You
have
couldn't sustain
yeah,
without
if it couldn't,
probably
you
bottle
couldn't
service
continue to
now.
book the big acts and
Mhm.
make the club grow to what it, as far as what it can pull in now with the
Yeah.
way it was set up. Just
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
heyday of bottle service is kind of changing in this era right now
Mhm.
too. It's with just financial moments,
Yeah.
acknowledging
Mhm.
that it's
Yeah.
so expensive to go out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's been years since I paid for a festival or a concert ticket.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, but there is moments where I'm like, if I didn't get to go for free, would I be able to buy
Yeah.
Yeah.
a few drinks? Would I go to dinner before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so back in those days when the
Yeah.
grand reopened, bottle service was everything, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
We were also one of the only clubs where you were able to buy bottles behind the DJ booth.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
The advancing
Yeah.
that happens, a lot of DJs don't want that, and like usually it's just the DJs, you know.
Yeah.
And we were one of the
Everywhere.
first clubs that actually had the like option for you to pay a little bit extra, and you can have that cool backstage experience, you know.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fun.
it's a big part of the business model, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it. But which is why having a place like Village that doesn't have that is so great too, because then you just have that different vibe for that particular type of setting, you know. And it's you just the fact that you get the both in the same roof, I guess, is really cool. So, you know, it is what it is. It's just the evolution of the industry. You
I mean,
know,
it also brings people together. Like literally, I met celebrities I met. I didn't mean celebrities.
Yes, I am a celebrity.
He is the celebrity.
I met this celebrity at celebrities.
Totally.
And that's how I got introduced to everybody. Is literally me and my ex-boyfriend. We went there one time, and he wandered off, and so they approached me. This, you know, what your promotions partner.
Yeah, me and
roommate.
Kyle and I used to do street team
Yeah.
and promoting and tickets and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
And so they were like,
flyering,
"Oh, do you
all
want
that
to?
crap.
We've got a bottle table. Do you want to come up?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm fresh 19."
So-
I was like, "Oh my goodness, like does this happen to everybody?" No, I feel so special.
You are the celebrity. Yeah.
Celebrities and celebrities. And so like I went up behind. I was like, "Oh, make sure my boyfriend can come too." And it was Kyle and it was you. And then turns out that they actually knew my ex-boyfriend. That's why they were asking
we were already
me.
friends with Ty. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, well, you know, I thought it
I
was
think he's
cool.
actually in the chat now that I mentioned
Tyree?
it. Yeah, I think he is. Yep.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, he was anyway.
Shout out Tyree.
Yeah.
Dragon scales.
Yeah.
All I
Oh my
remember.
gosh.
Yeah.
I used to be a little club rat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
still am.
Yeah.
But literally, if it wasn't for celebrities, we wouldn't be here.
Mhm.
Totally.
Nothing would be here because of it too.
Yeah, I've spent many. I've probably been to celebrities.
I think we were there like every single weekend for at least like 3 years straight.
I don't know if I've been to celebrities 1,000 times, but it's not that far off.
Yeah. Easily.
I love that.
It's not that far off.
Well, there's 365 days in a year, so.
There was a time where I was going between 2 to 3 days a week.
Well, we go Tuesday and then we go
Well, I didn't
Friday.
go Tuesdays. I don't go Tuesdays.
Oh.
But I'd definitely be there Wednesday.
I'm not going to hold
Wednesday.
him to that. I'm like, okay.
I literally saw you.
No, not regularly. No, not
Oh.
regularly.
But you went.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I've been on
funny
Tuesdays,
story
sure.
too,
No, but like
all the dancers
No, but
would
Wednes-
go on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure like you would go and then I'd be like, oh, I'm used to dance. Like, do I hang out with them? Like, but then they were all my friends. We would all dance like in the little back corner together.
Totally.
You know, on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
That was so fun because there was nobody there, so we just bust out our silly little
Yeah.
dance moves.
Well, we had Faded Wednesdays.
I'm silly. You're not silly.
Yeah.
I'm definitely freaking silly.
Yeah.
Faded Wednesdays. That was
Faded
like
Wednesdays.
Yeah.
the epitome of like me and Maggie Davidson like became best friends.
Yeah.
And like have watched each other grow in the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because of Faded Wednesdays. Like I don't think I remember like such a cultural, like the start of like bass dubstep. Like I can't picture anyone I could ask to go out on a Wednesday night to go see a concert and get as turned as a lot of us did on a Wednesday.
Wednesdays were
Oh my
wild.
God, how did we get to work the next day? Like,
I've had many a tired Thursday for sure.
I had a lot of no
Yeah.
sleep and into rehearsals.
Yeah.
So sorry to all my partners that had to deal with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like a very major culture moment for Vancouver scene. You
Absolutely.
know? Yeah. That was like
Absolutely.
seeing Grizz, seeing like RL Grime on a Wednesday in Vancouver. Are you kidding?
Dylan Francis.
the Moombahton era. Like, and like that's the thing. That's what a buyer does.
Yeah.
They, like Matt was so on top of the sound and what was needed, and like he was able to create a freaking Wednesday night.
Yeah.
You know, a Wednesday night, and it was had a cult following. It had like a full crew of people that like I have friends that we literally only know each other because of that night.
Yeah.
These guys.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah, and then like I think
cool.
Thursdays, every second Thursday I was there. Every Friday, Saturday. It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Those are the days. There's more to come.
Yeah.
More to come.
I'm there Tuesday to Friday, so
Woo!
love my job.
Sometimes Saturday.
Love my job.
Saturday.
I'm there Tuesday to Saturday always, but
Every single week.
So
Interesting. Okay, so going forward into the future, if you gate yourself 5 years down the line into space and time and look back over the 5 years that have kind of encompassed and played out and everything like that, what do you hope will have taken place? You've been to, you've gone to, you've built, you've grown. Where do you want to be?
where do I would love to be in like a really dope financial situation and like not have to worry about life and living.
That'd be sick.
Which I think a lot of people are feeling in this. But like I want to be able to curate a festival. I think like I curate an event 3 times a week. It gets exhausting.
Yeah.
But there's other people that help me. But that experience at like Base Coast and Shambhala like really inspired me to do. Like I want to have that cool festival too, you know? I would love to be able to not even like big in like international artists. Like I'd love to bring big international like dance companies.
I was thinking that, yeah.
You know?
So cool.
Like
Have a
don't
music
steal my
festival with
idea. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You know? But like
NDA out there.
Yeah. But like there's a lot of things like I would love to be a part of booking a festival that's like queer, like dominant, like so much art, and like people are going there not only just to see the DJs but like experience first, and then these dancers that travel the world, and you know all this like interactive intertwining of my life, you know. I think that's what I would love to do, and yeah, I'd love to have that. I would love to just see all my friends succeed. Like every day, I think it's getting closer and closer that we're all gonna buy a property somewhere and live in
cult,
you know,
commune.
But yeah, like I think that's where I want to be. I want to be like I want to see everyone thrive, survive, and just like really cultivate a new space. You know, Base Coast and Shambhala being so prevalent and like changed my life
For sure, a lot of people,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you know, and I've learned so much about myself because they allowed it. But I think there's things too that I really want. Like so many dancers perform at these festivals and don't even get paid.
I know, it's wild.
And like shout out to the amphitheater, shout out to Bree. Like I could always, Bree says this too, like I can't even find the amount of money to pay the dancers what they're really worth.
I couldn't agree more, yeah.
Like like but I still have like I will never hire someone that's gonna do free labor. Like that's never gonna be a thing. And so there's a lot of communication like, hey, like it might not be what like you deserve, but like I'll give you like as much gas money as possible. You'll get all the food for free. You know, like there's things that like we do a lot of that like some stages don't do. People just go up there and they perform. And if you want to do it, I totally get it. But as someone who's a like trained professional
for sure
dancer, like I need to make a chunk of money. I don't do anything anymore unless I get paid. To be like completely honest, you know, and that's on all fields.
Especially especially in a situation where money is being made.
Yeah,
you know, and I've been saying this for a long time. I don't know if I've talked to you about it, but dancers totally add to the vibe.
Yes.
You know, like the difference when going to celebrities, for example, where there's dancers that night and not that dancers that night, I think it's a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not just pigeonholing a club. Celebrities is great because they actually do have dancers.
Yeah.
You know, and shout out to those guys. They do such a good job.
Costumes are incredible.
Like,
they're beautiful.
But
I love watching
even at
them.
festivals, like I think that having dancers that are passionate, that are choreographed, that are, you know, costumed, like not just random people who go up and just, but people who actually give a crap, and then they, which is a lot of them do, they can only do that if they're being supported, obviously. And I agree. Like even if I know what Vancouver pays their dancers, it's a joke. I mean, a lot of their DJs also get paid. It's kind of a joke too. But like at the same time, you know, I think that people look at dancers as like an option that isn't necessary or doesn't add economically to the vibe, and I think that's wrong. I think it's totally adds to the vibe.
Like my rule when I step on or hire people, like I know that like just like working with my like DJ friends and having that moment, it's like when I'm on stage sharing a moment with anyone, like I'm communicating what the DJ is trying to translate to the dance floor. So if I can have that moment where I can functionality figure out what the groove is, that person that's sitting in the audience may not know how to dance, but they that's cool, and then automatically, because they agree with what they're seeing be translated, their body automatically finds that rhythm, you know. And then there's also those moments where I'm dancing on stage, I'm not just thinking about the DJ, I'm looking at what the crowd like, are they entranced, are they bored, like if there needs to be a moment where like they're bored, I can pick up my energy, and if the DJ sees that all of a sudden I'm hyping something up, they can look in like so. But that comes with professional training. That comes with actual knowledge of reading a room, like being in the environment. And so like my big thing for this year for the amphitheater is like I now have my company's coming. I know quite a few people that are playing and I want to be there and do the thing. But I'm like reaching out to DJs being like, hey, like if you want this, like I can do rehearsals thanks to celebrities. I have a DJ deck and an actual stage that I can start choreographing things ahead of time and show, you know, and that's like elevating that performance
big time.
Big time. And that's the exciting part is like Amp sees it. Like they really like we could use more money always.
Yeah.
You know, 25 years, throw a little money.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing too. And you know, another person that I think always goes unnoticed and that they're so important is the media team. You know, media marketers. Like I know so many people that are like so well diverse in all their talents, like videographer to photographer, like they do all the posts, they do the editing, they do all this stuff, you know, and I think those are also major unsung heroes of the nightlife and the scene. You know, like we don't get to see, like I have nothing to post unless Timothy doesn't send me these amazing photos for, and he edits on site day of, you know.
Wild.
Yeah, crazy.
Good for him.
You know,
they're
and
working hard behind the scenes.
So hard. And so and those are the things like that people wouldn't get to see the atmosphere if they didn't get captured too. So there's a lot of moving parts. I think we said multiple times today. And unsung heroes and what it goes behind actually making it, you know? So
I think it goes into the appreciation, you know, of it too, is like when you do want it to be a little bit hidden. You do want to capture, you know, keep a little of that magic, like, ooh, how is that done or whatever. But it's also too is just like, wow, when you know how much work goes into something, then you can appreciate it so much more. And then you can also understand the ticket
price, justification, etc.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah. Lifting the curtain a little bit to be like, guys, we're here. We're here for you. We're doing this because we love it all and we love the music and the atmosphere.
Agreed.
And stuff too.
Yeah.
Amazing. What is your wish for Vancouver? What is your wish for Vancouver?
That's a good one. I think like we're right now in like a really good era. But I really want us to figure out, I wish that we could figure out a way of collaborating as a community and show up stronger for each other. I wish more of that. I think that would be very helpful. And I think there is work on that. And I think that's a thing. And I just think showing up and helping each other out continuously and not having to have competing energies. You know?
That's really interesting that you say that too. It's like, what thing would you say that we do really well and what does need a little bit of work?
Well, I think it also comes down to like, I wish Vancouver was affordable. You know,
Amen.
That's probably it too.
You know, that is the hardest part.
Like,
Vancouver is so expensive. No matter if you have a good job, bad job, anything, it's just really expensive.
Yeah, and I think that's like the thing is hard is that when we have our nights and we have different events, I wish that we could be, hey, like, can you do yours next week? You know, but there is a point where people don't like their hustle is their shows. You know, like there's only so many people that can go out. Like even when we throw things at celebrities in Village, like sometimes we're competing against our own shows, you know? You're like, where is everyone? We're like, well, there's 4 different things. And 2 of them are ours.
So there's a thing at Commodore, celebrities, and you're like, how many people? Right,
Like, what are we going to do? You know?
No, I've always said that I wish there was some sort of calendar that everybody just posted their show dates to as soon as they were ready. And then it was not like you're not reserving that day. But if I'm a booker, promoter, or whatever, and I can look at that calendar and be like, oh, there's already 4 things that Saturday. Well, if I can only get that person on that Saturday, okay, fine. I guess I'll book it on that Saturday. But if I have the option of moving it to the Friday where I see there's nothing happening, I'd like to be able to see that. You know, it's something that simple where it's just like, again, just because you put your show on that date doesn't mean you're reserved that date and nobody else is going to book a show there. But just if I can see that there's 7 things on Saturday and nothing on Friday, I'm just using it as an example, but you know what I mean? And I have the option of moving my thing to Friday. I feel like that would be such a benefit.
And like it does actually exist. Evelina from The Initiative, her and Henry created a calendar. And so certain like promoters are in it and there are certain things that like, it's there, you know, that tool, which is great because that didn't exist 4 years ago, you know? so there is moments where you get to do it and you get to like put in a calendar like, hey, there's a deep down inside, there's this, there's that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day too, it's like, this is my money. This is what puts food on my table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would also really wish for is a venue that is the in-between of Commodore Ballroom and the Forum.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Like just that,
yes.
like
That
size
isn't
and
Harbor.
capacity.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We
Like,
agree.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yes, you know, like,
Yeah.
hey, Harbor, freaking cool, deal with
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
I don't have any bad blood. I want to support everyone.
Yeah.
It's not the one for me.
No, it's not.
And
yeah.
there needs, I hate that I like step into a room and I know that I'm in an old casino, but not fun way. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not like ooh, it's like woo. It's like
Ooh.
I hate the sound and I'm
Yeah, it's bad sound. It's a bad layout.
We've said
It's
this on the
convoluted.
pod
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
I
mean,
play
but-
there. It's. I wish I was closer to the people as a DJ. I'm way the fuck up there. I'm like, hello, is anybody there? You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Love it.
But yeah,
Cool
I
big
totally see what
stage.
you're saying for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like paint the
But-
walls black. Like do
Yeah.
put something in it because I know how
Something.
much money they're making.
Yeah.
Make like something so I can tell that there's just a little bit of something, you know?
Yeah.
And like I love that there's new spaces like Vantech and all
Yeah.
those things. And yeah, and like the Peony Amphitheater is being redone pretty soon here.
Mhm.
But like
Cool.
the size of that new outdoor amphitheater, I'm like, that's gonna be like not accessible to any promoter.
Yeah, it's a
Like
bit,
the small
bit too
promoters.
big.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be Live Nation, maybe a Blueprint show, but like
Yeah.
even then that's gonna be like
A bigger show for sure.
Huge,
Maybe
you
once a
know?
month
That's
max
gonna
kind of
be-
thing.
yeah. And so yeah, accessibility for a venue and like
Venues is a big problem for Vancouver
Yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
Big
Yeah.
time. Big time.
So
Yeah.
and like
Mm.
everyone's looking for new things, and it's happening. But yeah, it's something that it's just that in between.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I totally
Who are
feel
we
that
talking
for
to?
sure.
Record Works. Kevin Humphrey is
Mhm.
opening up a venue, but I think that's gonna be more techno or like melodic.
And I also don't know
or-
if that's like the 1,500 to 2,000 person venue we're talking about
No, I
either.
don't think
Yeah.
so.
Or whatever it
yeah,
is.
that's the
Yeah.
only other new venue
Yeah.
that I've heard.
You know. Yeah, like
Yeah.
like Sarah Landry. Like we love that they're gonna be at Commodore, and like we're gonna do a cool thing for that
Mhm.
show too.
Mhm.
Like I think a lot of people have bought tickets thinking that it's gonna be Commodore,
Mhm.
and I like Blueprint
Mhm.
and like Matt are really gonna make it. They have things in the works, which
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
But you know, there's also like we could have it in like a more industrial warehouse space, but it's not really
Mhm.
available.
Mhm.
And our
Yeah.
bylaws, the city does not work with us, and it's not.
That's the biggest thing.
Oh my
the city
God.
is
You know?
literally against.
Yeah.
It feels like it's the whole liquor laws are so
like without naming
draconian.
names, but like how many times have you probably run into problems with them?
Oh, too many.
Yeah.
You know, like there
Yeah.
are there's so many loopholes and there's so many things that just that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
You know, like shutting down a street can be up to 50K. You know,
Mhm.
for like I'm helping with Pride and we're trying to figure out how to do a street party. Like we're gonna bring
Yeah.
Pride street party back,
Mm.
and it's like asking the city like, oh, it could be 25 to 50K,
50.
and I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm like, pardon. Like,
Mhm.
can you give me an actual answer? Like, well, if the police are needed, it's 50K plus. It could be extra fees on top of that because if there's incidents,
Okay.
and then there's also if it's just traffic bylaw,
right.
then it's 25. But I'm like, how the frick am I gonna start an event with already being in the negative,
25K
possibly
to
50K?
That's
You know?
wild.
That's
Yeah.
like not even like
And you're not charging people tickets or anything either. It's just like an
You know?
event. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Public Disco throws really dope public events, and they're funded, and the city loves to work with them.
Mhm.
But there's moments I think that like sometimes I'm like, how in like Montreal, Berlin, UK, people just do a thing, the thing's done. You know,
Yeah.
you give a little bit of heads up.
Yeah.
Like Public Disco hops through so many like they do it by the law, by the book. They go to all the meetings, they get the thing, they get the permission.
Mhm.
But that's so much work, you know.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
commend them. And like, I also have like this weird fantasy that I want to have like Malcolm Bowl. I want to be able to use that all year round.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, like we can do Igloo Fest in Montreal, but we
Yeah.
can't just get like a cool dome to just go over the Malcolm Bowl, and we can
Sure,
have this
yeah.
like, you know, like
That wouldn't be that hard.
you know,
It wouldn't be that hard. One of those
Yeah.
geodomes, just a big one.
yeah,
I've seen them
all these
huge.
little
I've seen
big
them massive. They
places.
would fill that. They could cover
Yeah,
that
all
for sure.
these big places are like they must be making so much money. Like that is my assumption. I know nothing about the business, but like with that money, why like we're putting it all in our pockets, or why don't we just invest a little bit into the spaces that we do have to make it better for everyone? Like
yeah,
I get it. A lot of owners don't live here. Maybe they are other places and they don't necessarily care about investing back into Vancouver. But please, if you're out there,
At least I think we're a little
tiny little podcast.
I think it's we're just a little over governmented. I know that's not a word, but you know what I mean. Like there's just a lot of red tape to do anything, and that means it's very risky for people to invest in something that's not a known commodity.
And it might be canceled.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into all that stuff. It's not that interesting. I'm sure the people who are in it are in it, but just even the fact that like there's a set amount of liquor licenses. The only way to get another liquor license is if somebody else loses it. It's like what? Like what? Totally. Why does that rule exist?
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, that's
and
like
the pricing,
and that's just one thing.
Yeah, like the pricing for having police present because of what happened to the amphitheater at the Breakout Fest, those surcharges have now gone up at the Peony and at the Forum, right? Like, so
because of that one instance where
the riots thing happened, you know. But then that's already once again, we want to throw an event at this festival, like we want to do Pacific Coliseum, we want to do the Forum, but then it's non-negotiable. You need to have them there, and that's not cheap. They're not cheap, you know. And sometimes it's like,
no offense, they kind of poop on the parade.
Well, it's like, are they needed? You know, like I think there's so many things that the electronic scene gets shit on, but a lot of us are actually, we take care of our community very well.
It's a different community than the regular concert community, the mainstream music. It's a different community.
And also the rap and the hip hop. I don't want to.
Just anything outside of the mainstream, like the electronic, like the rave culture. Is very different from regular mainstream culture. And I think the general perception of people outside of that don't understand that. Because again, like you had to, and I'm not saying you specifically, but a lot of us had to go to Shambhala to know what that world was like. And everyone goes and says it changed my life. Well, why did it change your life? Because it showed you a place where you could be an authentic version of yourself with other people who are also authentic versions of themselves of every socioeconomic background.
Totally.
Doesn't even matter. You're both there dressed up like idiots in costumes, partying in the dirt, and there's no VIP section.
There's no bottle service.
There's it's not. You're all in the same thing for the same reason, doing the same at the same time.
Totally.
For the same energy. And that doesn't exist in mainstream anything. It just doesn't. And especially in the music scene.
And we can't even throw like Deer Lake Park, for example. There's a rule that you can't even do an electronic show at Deer Lake Park because they're scared of someone going into the water at Deer Lake Park. I'm like, okay, like sure, but you can do a rock concert. You can do like, I understand, like Bon Iver, like that type of world. There's no one getting like turned, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure I saw a lot of people getting turned at Deer Lake Park concert that could have easily gone swimming. You know, it's just like weird bylaws like that. So
there doesn't even need to be an event for somebody to just go in the water. Like, what, are you just going to police it all year round? Like,
exactly.
Maybe there's a little bit of like personal accountability might be required here. I don't know, but whatever.
Crazy
anyway,
concept.
we could probably talk about
complain
about that, but
forever.
whatever. To come back to the answer to the question
is community and working together more. We really need that because we're here together because we all love music. We all want to do the thing. We all want to dance and have fun and express our art and our creativity. And
it's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think so. 100%. Tons more to come.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to plug and tell the people that's coming up?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Next week we have Black Coffee.
Sorry, guys.
All good. Yeah. Like Black Coffee's coming up. If you don't have your tickets, do not ask me for guest list. Buy a ticket. It's going to be a really cool show.
No, just
well, maybe. But yeah, I think Black Coffee's coming up. We have Scream open to close at Celebs. Base Coast lineup is coming out pretty soon here. Shambhala is out. You be the dictator if you go or not. But I think
faded.
There's a lot of fun things that are coming up. Faded.
It's a big year for sure. This year started massive with the shows, and it's just continued to get crazier and crazier.
Definitely.
I think, and if there's anything you want to become a part of, totally reach out to me, and I can try and help do the thing. But
Yeah.
get out there, have fun.
Have
Yeah,
fun.
do
Be
it.
yourself. Love people.
Yeah.
Enjoy the culture and the people.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yay! Well, thank you
Cool.
for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, that
hanging
was fun.
out and
Yeah.
chatting
Yeah.
and sharing your life. I appreciate it. Make sure you follow Andrew and all of his dance and his promotions, celebrities, of course, blueprints. Follow us, follow the pod. We chit chat every single week and post episodes on Tuesday and live stream on Wednesdays. So with that, without further ado, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.